Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Roundup. Right, we've just got loads of stories today, so I think we should just get stuck in. Okay, the first thing we're going to be talking about then is financial results season, which is still underway. This week, it is Take-Two's turn. Now, while their annual report was full of very impressive numbers, as always, like, record revenues of $3.4 billion, that's less, I think, what's interesting. We don't want to go through just a bunch of numbers. There were some other tidbits, though, so we'll do that. So they've said that they plan to release 21 games during the current financial year, which means by the end of March 2022. Now, this figure does include what they say is 4 immersive core games, 2 from proven franchises, and 2 entirely new ones. Now, one of these immersive core titles is, I think, likely to be Gearbox's next project. Gearbox were acquired by Embracer Group back in February, but 2K were actually very quick to state that the two parties would continue to work together. Of course, 2K is one of Take-Two's labels. 2K does remain the Borderlands IP publisher, and any other projects that are currently in the works at Gearbox, whatever those actually turn out to be. There's also Firaxis. So apparently Firaxis are set to reveal, they say, several exciting projects later this year, but again, we really don't know when they'll be releasing or what will be going on. I mean, who knows, maybe some XCOM or something. 2K's then upcoming Arcade NFL collaboration was initially thought to be one of the games in the new category that Take-Two talked about, but Take-Two did confirm that it has actually been delayed past March 2022. So that doesn't really help us narrow down what these games could be. Basically, we're not sure what's taking its spot this year. Also, the 21 game total is also accounting for 6 new iterations of previously released titles coming this year. Now, those are probably going to be a suite of next-gen upgrades to Take-Two's biggest titles. And of course, on that, we did hear of Grand Theft Auto V's expanded and enhanced edition. Yeah, of course, this does leave the possibility of a GTA 6 feeling a little bit more up in the air and probably far away, given that GTA 5 will seemingly never die and will keep on going. But there you go. Take-Two, they have had very good financials, and they are teasing lots of games coming out this year. Alright, EA news. They've said they're going to let Codemasters do their own thing. Shocking. Like with, say, Respawn. Now, of course, whenever EA acquired Codemasters back in February for a cool $1.4 billion, a lot of fans of the studio were worried that the typical EA thing would happen, right? Like with, say, Visceral, that they'd run the studio into the ground. Well, EA have basically said they won't do that, which is kind of funny. And like with anything halfway positive about EA these days, the decision can basically be attributed to Respawn. Kind of funny that EA seem to be aware of their rep of just being a studio killer. But Andrew Wilson said that they're going to leave Codemasters to their own devices in a way, quote, similar to Respawn. Yeah, EA apparently don't want to turn Codemasters into, yet another EA studio, but they do want them to be able to reap the benefits of EA's position in the industry. So they would say supercharge Codemasters because they're EA. They've got a lot of money and resources and stuff. Now, EA have a, quote, amazing cupboard of IP, technology, and resources along with established player bases. And like Respawn, EA want to hand Codemasters, quote, a set of keys to the cupboard. I guess Andrew Wilson likes cupboard analogies then. Bit weird. But I'll say that it is kind of crazy the amount of influence that Respawn's success has had in EA, at least on their public-facing messaging. I think they know what's going on here. Maybe they've finally been convinced that, they actually have the resources to be able to take on an occasional risk and, the talent to back it up. And then maybe they don't need to do excessive interference of things, and who knows? Who knows? I mean, will Codemaster just be forced to do everything in the friggin' Frostbite engine and be unhappy? Hopefully not, and I'd definitely like to see EA say something to that effect to just get a little bit more confidence back. Alright, next we've got some acquisition news and stuff that is kind of important. So, do you remember a while back we were talking about Warner Brothers games potentially being sold for about $4 billion to one of a number of suitors that included the likes of, say, Activision and EA? And then it kind of just didn't happen. Well, this week, AT&T announced that they are going to be offloading Warner Brothers Games' parent, Warner Media, as a part of a $43 billion merger with Discovery. Now, it was initially believed that Warner Brothers' gaming division, which, that comprises 11 studios, which include Rocksteady, that's the Batman games, Monolith, NetherRealm, big studios, and they have big IP. They can work in Lord of the Rings titles. That's pretty big. Well, we'd initially thought that it would be broken up and spread about, this gaming division. Well, AT&T have even confirmed that some of the gaming division would stay with them at AT&T, but now it seems that virtually all of the gaming stuff is heading over to Warner Discovery. Now, Warner Brothers Games, they control a lot of very high-profile IP, and this whole thing just feels strange and confusing. It seems like it's all going to this new Warner Brothers Discovery thing, but AT&T seemingly are indicating they want to hold on to a few of those assets. I mean, who knows? But it's AT&T. I'm not going to go into acquisition, drama, and critique. There's a bunch of other things going on there as well. Hopefully we get some actual clarification soon, I guess. And finally, let's do some quickfire. So, a new report from a French outfit called Le Telegram suggests that despite the numerous promises and public posturing of internal practice overhauls that Ubisoft have done, that they actually haven't really changed that much since all of those harassment stories broke last year. So this publication reports that while there actually have been some changes, that overall the impact has been minimal at best. I guess I can't say I'm that surprised, but also I feel like this is pretty big stuff, so I would want to hear more. Now, in other Ubisoft news, there's actually player surveys floating around from the company that suggest they're going to do more Ubisoft Plus tiers, which could end up being Classic, Light, and Basic, that would just give you different amounts of perks for different prices, with the lower tiers, for a little bit of speculation, perhaps looking like they could integrate into Xbox Game Pass quite nicely. Next then, Nintendo's new Skyward Sword HD Zelda Amiibo has got a special ability that lets players instantly zip between ground and sky. A feature that would have been really nice to have in the actual re-release, if not for the fact that, it's actually been locked behind an action figure, or no, not action figure, like a figure, that'll go out of stock. I don't like that with Amiibos. Next up, the PlayStation Studio Steam page went up this week. It seems to list 41 games and bits of DLC, but only 27 are publicly visible. Now, the only PlayStation games currently on Steam, of course, are Horizon Zero Dawn, Predator Hunting Grounds, Helldivers, and Days Gone. But with this going on, maybe there's going to be a bunch more coming. Then, the Saints Row 3 remaster is hitting the next-gen consoles this week with 4K 60 for the Series X and PS5, and then a performance mode for the Series S. And for another flavor of open-world shenanigans, GTA 5's expanded and enhanced next-gen edition is going to launch this November, with there actually also, of course, being the standalone version of GTA Online that is free on PS Plus for the first 3 months. Kind of wild that is now a 3-generation game. Next then, for community stuff, the fighting game Glossary is new, and it's aiming to jargon bust an entire genre, and it's a pretty damn deep genre. There's over 650 intricately explained terms with Japanese translations and example videos. It's a pretty damn mammoth undertaking, should help make the FGC a bit more accessible, which, for an idiot like me, is certainly a good thing. Okay, next, 4 of the lingering class action lawsuits from Cyberpunk 2077's disaster of a launch, they have been consolidated into one super lawsuit. Yeah, so that'll be fun for them. A lead plaintiff has been appointed, and each of the suits, including a couple from CD Projekt Red's own shareholders, well, they will now potentially be subject to common court proceedings. So I'm sure that's going to be fun for CD Projekt Red. Then next, an odd story. Devolver Digital are actually set to go public. Yeah, I mean, I guess Fall Guys did really well. But yeah, there's a new report that suggests they will float on the London Stock Exchange by the end of this year, and at a current valuation of 1.4 billion. So that's quite a bit. Then the Hollow Knight devs, Team Cherry, have dashed all hopes that there could be Silksong news at E3. There will not be Silksong news at E3, which is sad, but fair enough, I guess. I mean, they got to take their time. Now, speaking of E3, it will be part of the upcoming Summer Games Fest. That's the show that launched last year as a means to try to unite the game shows that have been scattered by the pandemic. And, well, Jeff Keighley will be back in a role there. And the kickoff is going to be June 10th. And apparently quite a few of the various publishers are involved, so maybe we'll get some cool stuff via that. Next then, Squeenix announced that Outriders hit 3.5 million players in its first month and is on track to become the company's next major franchise. Yeah, you can put out basically a kind of 7 out of 10 standard enough game, but it can tick the right boxes, go on to Game Pass, and kind of explode, and suddenly you've got your big new AAA franchise, it seems. This game apparently has even got extremely high co-op engagement, according to them, with the average player sinking 30 hours into the game. So, take that, Avengers, I guess. Then, Jason Schreier has rubbished reports from earlier this week that Starfield is pretty much done. And he's actually already been corroborated by The Verge's Tom Warren. Now, this is weird because the early rumor mill basically decided that Bethesda's Mysterious Space game would release before the end of the year. In our report, we said that we felt that that was still kind of surprising and unlikely given COVID. We thought maybe 2022. Now, Jason Schreier says that he has heard, quote, a specific date in 2022, but that he's not going to give anything away before the formal announcement, which is now confirmed to be a joint Xbox Bethesda E3 showcase that's going to be in a few weeks. So, intriguing. I'll say this. Be it on this or perhaps Elden Ring teaser trailer dates, might be time for Jeff Grubb to take a few of his sources with a pinch of salt. I think it's that thing, you know, there's people that have sources, their sources are actually really good and solid, but a source might not always be abreast of the most recent plan from a company, and plans can change. Then next, an awesome one, a nice surprise to wrap us up. A new Time Splitters game is going to begin development in the coming months under a newly reformed Free Radical design. But it's not a totally new thing because the founders, David Doak and Steve Ellis, are actually back, and the studio once again will be based in Nottingham. So there you go, I guess. It's like the 2000s never ended. And I mean, man, come on. There is a 4K like port of the second game just sitting there in Homefront: The Revolution, isn't there? So maybe it's time to crack that thing out. Anyway,